All right, welcome back everyone. So if you've been following along, you've gotten pretty good at architecting an AI's thought process, right? You know how to build those detailed blueprints for reasoning. And look, that is a seriously powerful skill. It's the foundation for everything we do. But here's the thing I want you to think about. Even the best architects on the planet, they don't design skyscrapers all by themselves. No way. They collaborate. They're constantly talking to structural engineers, to materials experts. And today, we're going to take that exact same leap. We're moving beyond just handing the AI a finished set of plans. Instead, we're inviting it into the design studio with us to help us co-design the blueprints for thinking itself.
And this quote, this right here is our North Star for today. The future, it doesn't belong to the person who can write one single clever prompt. No, it belongs to the meta architect, the person who can lead a sophisticated, disciplined, a real design dialogue with an AI. Look, this isn't just about getting better answers from the machine. It's about building better ways of getting those answers. This is the big evolution we're making, from being an architect of cognition to becoming a co-designer with it.
So here's our game plan. It's pretty straightforward. First, we're going to define the new challenge that every single prompt architect is facing right now. Then I'm going to introduce you to your new partner in crime, the Socratic coprocessor. After that, we'll dive right into the DGCR co-design cycle. That's our core engineering workflow. We're going to spend a good chunk of time on mastering the art of critique, because that's where you, the human, are completely irreplaceable. Then we'll get into some advanced techniques for making your blueprints absolutely bulletproof. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by talking about the massive strategic advantage this gives you as a meta architect. Sound good? Let's go. All right, let's get into it. Section 1, the architect's new challenge. The big shift happening right now, it's like our job is moving up a level. We're zooming out. We're evolving from just building the blueprints ourselves to actually designing the process of how those blueprints even get made in the first place. And the key thing, we're doing it with the AI as our collaborator right from the very beginning. And this slide, it just nails the evolution. Think about it. Yesterday, you were the sole designer, the architect. You did all the heavy lifting, you mapped out every single step, and the AI's job was simple. Just execute your plan. Your first prompt was all about getting the final answer. But today, the meta architect is more like a lead designer on a team. And your AI, it just got a promotion. It's now your co-designer. And here's the part you really need to get. Your first prompt is not trying to solve the problem anymore. Its only job is to kickstart a conversation, a dialogue to design the workflow that will eventually solve it. That is a total game changer.
And this brings us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? I mean, really think about this for a second. You're a skilled architect, right? A brand new, super complex, messy problem lands on your desk, something you've never, ever seen before. So, how do you design the perfect thinking process for it from scratch? Where do you even start? It's that classic terrifying blank page problem, but for designing thought itself. And that, right there, is exactly the problem we're here to solve today.
Okay, so if the AI is our new co-designer, what does that partnership actually look and feel like? Well, that brings us to this really cool idea, thinking of the AI as your Socratic coprocessor. We are talking about a fundamental upgrade here. We're going from a simple tool that just follows instructions to a tireless intellectual partner that helps us think about how we think.
Now, I need to be crystal clear on this point. Co-designing is not a shortcut. This is not about being lazy or trying to offload your work, okay? This is a massive strategic upgrade to your entire engineering process. Yeah, it'll boost your speed, for sure. But way more importantly, it radically improves the quality, the clarity, and the toughness, the robustness of the final prompt you build. Just think of the AI as your personal intellectual sparring partner. It's available 24/7 to challenge your assumptions and help you turn those rough ideas into something way more solid than you could have ever built on your own.
So, you might be asking, why even bother with this extra step? Well, there are huge strategic advantages. First off, you get instant access to the AI's it's an insane internal library of problem-solving frameworks. You need a business strategy? Bam! It knows SWOT and Porter's 5 forces. A military decision? It knows the OODA loop. You get to tap into these incredibly powerful mental models without needing a PhD in every single one. Second, it helps you overcome your own expert blind spots. You know what I'm talking about, those little thinking steps you do so automatically you don't even realize you're doing them. The AI doesn't have your baggage, so it forces you to spell things out. Third, it just demolishes that blank page problem. Come on, it is always easier to critique and improve a first draft than to stare at a blinking cursor. And finally, it lets you become a specialist in a new domain at lightning speed. It helps you take its generic frameworks and really tailor them to whatever specific problem you're working on. Okay, so hopefully we all get the why now. So let's get into the how. Look, effective co-design isn't just some random rambling chat with an AI. It's a structured, disciplined, repeatable engineering workflow, and we call it the DGCR cycle. This, my friends, is the engine room of the meta-architect.
This four-step loop, this is the heart of the whole thing. It looks simple, but its power is all in the structure. First, you define the job. You write a crystal clear brief for the AI. And don't worry, we'll cover exactly how to do that in a second. Second, you let the AI generate a first draft of the reasoning process. Third, and listen up, this is the most critical step by far, you apply your unique human expertise to critique that draft with a sharp engineering eye. And finally, you refine it. You go back and forth. You point out flaws, suggest improvements, you iterate until that blueprint is polished and absolutely bulletproof.
So let's really dig into that first phase, define, because I want you to burn this quote into your brain. Seriously, this is the single most important mindset shift you have to make. You are not asking the AI to solve the problem. You are commissioning it. You're hiring it to act as a process designer. Its job is to help you design the assembly line. It's not its job to run the assembly line. Not yet. That distinction, it's everything.
So how do you write that killer brief for your new designer? Easy. You use the GACA framework. It's just a simple checklist that forces you to be super clear. G is for goal. What's the ultimate objective here? A is for actor. Who is this prompt actually for? A junior analyst needs way different instructions than a CEO, right? C is for context. What's the source material? What data will it be working on? The other C is for constraints. What are the non-negotiables, the hard rules, like word limits or specific formatting? And the final A is for artifact. What's the final output? The tangible thing it has to produce. Is it a table, a JSON object, a memo? I'm telling you, if you nail this GACA brief up front, everything that follows gets about 10 times easier.
And now we arrive at what is, without a doubt, the most important part of this whole cycle, the critique phase. The AI's first draft? It's just a suggestion. It's a lump of clay waiting to be shaped. This is the moment where you, the lead meta-architect, step into the spotlight. This is where your expertise, your intuition, your critical intelligence, all of it is absolutely 100% non-negotiable.
But a good critique isn't just a gut feeling, right? It's engineering. You need to systematically stress test the AI's draft with a toolkit of heuristics. So let's just walk through these. First, atomicity. Ask yourself, is each step one single indivisible task? Or is it trying to do too much, like analyze and summarize? Bad. Next, verifiability. Does this step produce something tangible, something you can actually check? We'll circle back to this one, it's huge. Third, logical cohesion. Does the whole sequence even make sense? Does step 3 actually follow from step 2? Fourth, exhaustiveness. And this is a big one. Are there missing steps? What assumptions is the AI making that it didn't write down? Fifth, resilience. What happens when this thing meets messy, real-world data? What if a section of a report is just gone? And finally, efficiency. Are there any redundant steps we can combine or just flat out delete? Using this toolkit, this is how you have a professional, productive conversation with your AI co-designer.
So you give the AI your killer GACA brief, and it spits back something that looks a lot like this. And okay, it's a logical starting point, but it's also critically flawed. Just look at steps like read the document to understand it or analyze the company's financials. These fail our tests right away. They're not atomic, analyze is a massive process in itself, and they're definitely not verifiable. I mean, how do you check if an AI has understood something? You can't. So this right here is your generic lump of clay. Now it's our job to turn it into a sculpture.
And boom, this is the payoff. Just look at the transformation here. On the left, you've got that vague first draft. But on the right, after we applied our critique heuristics, we have a properly engineered blueprint. Notice the precision. It's not analyze financials anymore. It's extract revenue, net income, and free cash flow for 3 years into a table. Now that is atomic, and it's totally verifiable. We've turned a fuzzy, high-level idea into a rigorous, step-by-step process where each step builds on the last, and the final step has to justify itself with data from the steps that came before it. That is engineering.
I want to zoom in on verifiability for just a second, because this is the absolute secret sauce to the whole thing. A step like perform rhetorical analysis is fine, but it's still kind of vague. But watch what happens when you add a concrete check. Like, as part of this step, Was a list of emotionally charged words produced? Yes or no? Suddenly, the whole process becomes auditable. You can actually check the AI's work at each intermediate stage. That simple binary yes or no check, that's the magic trick. That's what turns a vague suggestion into a hard engineering instruction. It's what makes this a real discipline.
Okay, so once you've truly mastered that DGCR cycle, you're ready to level up. It's time for the masterclass. These are the advanced techniques you're going to use to take a good blueprint and make it absolutely bulletproof. I'm talking production grade, ready for anything the real world can throw at it.
First up is a crazy, powerful technique called red teaming. The idea is super simple, but it's also profound. Once you and the AI have designed a process you're both happy with, you completely flip the script on it. You tell the AI to switch hats. Its new job? To become your harshest critic. A skeptical auditor whose only mission is to find every single flaw in the process you just built together. You are literally turning the AI's analytical power back on your own creation. And trust me on this, it will find edge cases, logical gaps, and hidden assumptions that you completely missed.
Another pro move is something we call multi-persona simulation. Think about it. Any complex problem in the real world is seen differently by different people, by different stakeholders. This technique lets you actually model those diverse points of view. So, for example, you could have the AI generate a reasoning process from the perspective of a super cautious, risk-averse CFO. Then, in a totally separate conversation, have it generate one from the perspective of a growth-at-all-costs CMO. And then your job as the meta-architect is to take the best ideas from both and weave them together into one superior, much more balanced workflow.
And this whole co-design skill, it also helps us tackle that crucial concept we talked about last time, the great divide between different kinds of models. Co-design lets you create perfectly tailored blueprints. For a less advanced, non-reasoning model, you'll create a super detailed, prescriptive blueprint where you spell out every single tiny action. It's basically like giving turn-by-turn directions to an intern. But for a really powerful native reasoning model, you can design a much more minimalist, goal-oriented plan. You just define the key milestones, and you trust it to figure out the sub-steps. That's like giving a destination and the car keys to a top-tier consultant. This adaptability, this is what makes your work future-proof.
So, okay, after all this, the DGCR cycle, the art of critique, these advanced techniques, what does it all add up to? What's the real advantage of being a meta-architect? Well, it's so much more than just a new skill or a neat trick for writing prompts. This is a new job description. It's a fundamental shift in your professional identity in this entire field.
The moment you start working this way, you elevate your role. You stop being a passive user of AI technology, somebody who just takes its outputs. You become an active co-designer of its application, a true partner in shaping how this incredible technology gets applied to solve real, meaningful, important problems. You are the one who designs how the thinking actually gets done. You become the meta-architect.
Look, we've moved so far beyond just asking an AI for simple answers. The most valuable, the most interesting, and honestly, the most fun work right now is in engineering the process of thinking itself. So I'm going to leave you with this one question. The next time you open up that prompt window, just pause for a second and ask yourself, are you just here to ask for a response, or are you ready to co-design how it thinks?